standing on the Great Pyramid.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt.
I'm Laurin.
We are
YAH
Adventures. Egypt, land of mystery. Cairo, city of the living. That's the line Salah says in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Cairo, city of the living and a paradise on earth.
One of my favorite movies. I saw it 18 times in the theater in the summer.
18 times?
Summer of 81.
I guess you
18
really
times.
like that movie.
So we finally made it to Egypt. That was also on your endeavor list. So this was one of our endeavors. We actually did this at the end of our Uganda portion. Since we're already in Africa, we might as well go to Egypt and check that place
Well,
out.
and this was the third time I'd planned a trip to Egypt because I've been wanting to see the pyramids for a very long time. First two times, fear got the better of us, and we didn't do it.
Yes.
And the second time was right after 9/11, and it probably wasn't very safe to go anywhere in the world at that point.
Yeah.
So when we decided to go to Uganda for the mountain gorillas, I said, why don't we add on Egypt? And we got a really good deal with Memphis Tours. They're a fantastic local tour company there in Egypt, in Cairo.
They've been around for a long time, right?
Really long time, since I think the 50s, very long time.
Very affordable, and they take care of you.
I just have to say here,
Yes.
when you said affordable, for 5 nights, 5-star hotels, tour guides everywhere, most meals, I think we only had to buy 2 meals, maybe 3, $700 per person. And they flew us down to Luxor, business class.
Yeah.
It was amazing cost for
On
5
Egypt Air,
nights.
yeah.
For 5 nights. And we saw everything.
Yeah.
Memphis Tours. Can't say enough good things about them.
They were just one of the reasons we felt so welcome in that country. A lot of people were saying, oh, Egypt, aren't you a little scared? And, people saw, maybe they remember the protest in the square in Cairo several years ago. But currently, the current government is keeping the streets very safe. They want tourists to come and see their beautiful country.
When people met us,
Yeah.
they were so happy to see people from the United States because tourism is picking up there again for U.S. citizens.
Yeah, they made us feel like welcome guests in their country. So, just to give you an idea of what the experience was like, and again, if we gush about Memphis Tours, it's because they went above and beyond what my expectations were. So we arrive at Cairo at night, as crazy and crowded as ever, and we go into the main, what would you call it?
The
lobby?
Rivals lobby,
Yeah.
and there are like hundreds of people there and hundreds of people holding signs with names, different names. I'm looking for our name, looking for the Memphis tour name. And I thought, how are we ever going to find these people? But they did ask us to send pictures of ourselves.
And I had my hat on in
he
one
had
of the
his-
pictures.
Exactly. So they could recognize us. And then what happened?
I just suddenly hear somebody in the crowd shouting, Mateo, Mateo! And it was Tarek, who was our liaison.
Right.
And he had an assistant with him.
He was wonderful. So he took us over to baggage claim to wait for our bags. And as we were waiting, he said, hand me your passports.
So we, you had to give over the passports.
We don't like to have these out of our sights too often. I think I even said, why do you need our passports? He said, oh, to get the visa. We waited for our luggage. By the time the luggage came out, he came back with our visas.
There they are.
There you go.
Egypt visa.
Egypt visas. So it was really great to have him do that.
As we were going to the cash machine, we saw the line for visas.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So there was a really long line for the visas. He went over, got in front of the line, got our visas right away. If we had to do that ourselves without Memphis Tours, we would have been in the airport for 2-3 hours.
2 or 3, I swear.
And then as we're leaving, he handed us our passports with our visas in them. And he got us in front of the line, in front of all the people just departing and exiting the airport. Because you had to show your visas as you left. And he got us out of the airport within 30 minutes after landing.
Then just escorts us out to the parking lot, and there's a van with our driver waiting for us.
And they take us to a 5-star hotel.
I feel ridiculous.
It was a 5-star hotel. All the hotels were 5-star hotels on this tour for the amazing price I mentioned earlier.
So we spent the night. We were a little tired. Spend the night. We get up in the morning. We walk out to the courtyard, and look what we saw.
Here we are. Oh, there she is. Look what is right side our hotel. We are that close.
The pyramids were right there.
They were right there
We
next
didn't
to
even know it.
us.
So we had breakfast, which was included, and he told us to be in the lobby at 8 to meet our Egyptologist.
Her name, I believe, was Elena, and she was our Egyptologist tour guide for Cairo.
And just so you know, Egypt does not allow just anybody to be a tour guide. The Egyptologists have to go through years of training to learn the history of their country. They pride themselves in being the cradle of civilization, and they want the tours to be accurate as far as history goes. So the history that you're hearing from the Egyptologists is the true history.
The pharaohs considered the plant a holy plant. Why? The flower of the plant looks like sun rays.
So much rich history there and so much beauty. So the first place she takes us is the pyramids. We got our endeavor list right off the bat.
We did. We got to the pyramids and just so grand and so beautiful and
Bigger
so big.
than you expect.
Big. Matthew climbing up on the pyramid.
The reality is, I'm standing on the Great Pyramid.
And then we
went on a camelback ride. How special is that?
that's yeah.
Really, really great experience. A lot of fun, a lot of history. The history is just amazing.
The pharaohs, the kings, just amazing stuff.
We got to see the Sphinx because it's right next to the pyramids, and I got to kiss the Sphinx.
Yeah, that was a lot of
fun. And we got to kiss in front of the Sphinx and the pyramids. That was fun too.
Absolutely. Then we went to a papyrus shop. Papyrus is a plant that was used to make paper, and they still do that today. They say that paper being made of papyrus predates paper making in China.
Wow.
You can see the crosshatch
This
there.
is the first paper in the history. Mankind history, this one. This is before the Chinese.
They showed us how it was done. We got to see some beautiful papyrus paintings.
We even bought a few
Bought a
things.
few.
Come up
One
with
with the
quite a
names.
haul
Now you
here.
have the translation. 1, 2.
Then we went to the Cairo Museum.
We arrive at the Museum of Egyptian Art and Antiquities.
Now inside the Cairo Museum is just treasure from the history of Egypt, mummies, right?
Right, we saw mummies and we saw ancient writings.
Writings, ancient papers with writings, and we even saw a lot of the treasure of King Tut. I made the mistake when I walked into that room of videotaping one of the sarcophagi, I
Which
think.
you're not supposed to do. You didn't know.
I didn't know this. I feel terrible, but fortunately the person who told me that was another tourist. If it had been a guard, he would have made me erase it. I'm glad a guard didn't, because you never know what I might have lost
Right.
there. But that was amazing. It was almost overwhelming how much was there. I could spend 2 or 3 days, just like the Louvre in Paris. You could spend days there.
And now it's even bigger. The one that we went to was the old museum. It's since moved into a new home. And we were there, they were building the new museum still. So I just wanted people to know, if you're planning on going to Cairo, the pictures you're seeing now are of the old museum that we saw, and you'll be going to the new grand, huge museum. I hear it's just spectacular.
So we want to go back and see the new museum too. And then that evening we got to experience the pyramids a much different way. We had a special nighttime light show. A narrator tells the history of these monuments and what is known about them.
It was simply gorgeous. It was a beautiful night to see the light
Yes.
show. It was gorgeous.
So that was day 1. Whew. Day 2, they throw us on Egypt Air business class and fly us down to Luxor. And Luxor is when my mind was really blown, and I fully understood just how knowledgeable these guides, these Egyptologist guides are. Our guide's name there was Abdo, and the wealth of information he carries in his head.
He's such a nice person, too.
Very nice person.
Yeah, all the guides were really nice.
Very kind, and he took us everywhere. First, he took us to the Valley of the Kings. If you don't know what the Valley of the Kings is, it's a valley where from the 16th to the 11th century, most of the pharaohs and the Egyptian noblemen were buried. They dug tombs within the walls of this valley and buried them. King Tut was buried there.
Yeah, that's where they found the hidden tomb of King Tut.
King Tut was there. We weren't allowed to take pictures. We stood at the edge before we went in and got to take a picture of the valley.
There, straight ahead, is the Valley of the Kings. Getting ready to go in, and that means this has to go off.
That was when picture time was over. So, just wandering around the tombs where these mummies had been buried for centuries. Then they took us over to a mortuary temple. This one was the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut.
In the beginning of the 18th dynasty, we had a king. His name was Thutmose.
Now, Hatshepsut was, I believe, the 6th pharaoh. Abdo, if you're watching, you can correct me. I believe the 6th pharaoh and only the 2nd documented female pharaoh that we're aware of. Mortuary temple is like a temple built within the vicinity of the tombs of pharaohs and kings. So obviously it was just down the road, and it was pretty impressive.
It was huge. It was truly amazing.
It's built right into the cliffs. These cliffs are called Deir al-Bajari, I believe, and it was carved right into the cliffs.
And this is some distance from Luxor. It's not, you have to go out a little ways to see these things.
On the way back, we got to stop at a little alabaster shop, and they showed us how they ground alabaster.
That was a lot of fun. And the people there were so nice. I just loved them.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying a few little figurines and things made out of alabaster and made some great gifts.
So that was almost our first day in Luxor, but then on the way home, we stopped to see these things called the Colossus or the Colossi of Memnon, statues of Amenhotep III, but they're called the Colossi of Memnon because Agamemnon, one of the heroes of Troy. If you've seen the movie, Agamemnon was played by Brian Cox. Agamemnon, I guess they discovered that, or when the Greeks came in, they named them the Colossi of Memnon to honor Agamemnon. When you think about when these statues were made and how tall they were,
it really blows your mind. It really, really does.
It was breathtaking.
Then we go home to our 5-star hotel on the Nile.
And this is the Nile, right outside our hotel where we're staying.
And we had seen the Nile earlier in the trip in Uganda. So it was nice to see the Nile in Uganda and then see the Nile in Egypt because it's a very long river.
So then the next day, we get up bright and early, and there's Abdo waiting in the lobby for us, and he takes us to see a couple of temples, the Karnak Temple and the Luxor Temple. Now, the temples in this area are actually temples and chapels and pylons and other special buildings all put in these massive, massive areas. And I learned what the word hypostyle hall is. A hypostyle hall is a large area where pillars support your roof. That's where most of the people gathered. There are temples and chapels on the sides. And as you go through these buildings, they apparently expanded over the centuries. You can see different influences. You can even see a bit of Christian influence, a bit of Hindu influence, a bit of Muslim influence, in addition to all the writings about the different Egyptian gods that are on the wall.
It was really neat to see the writings on the wall and the colors that are still preserved, and they tell a story. You see the hieroglyphics. It's truly, truly amazing how well preserved everything is and how they really take care of their history there in Egypt.
And Abdo just knew so much. I don't know how you contain all this information in your head.
We have so many exceptions here. Like, we have the ruins here of 10 pillars inside the open court. We were not supposed to have them.
He talked a lot about the Pharaoh Hatshepsut that I mentioned earlier, and we could spend hours talking about her story, but it's pretty much like a soap opera. Betraying this person, sleeping with this person. I mean, it's just a lot of drama there. Fascinating stuff.
You would think that history would be boring, but with all the stories that Abdo told us, it's really amazing, and it sounds like a really fun job to be an Egyptologist.
Yeah, it does sound like a fun job. You know, here in America, all we really know about that history is King Tut. But King Tut really is a minor figure in this grand play.
And we learned so much on this trip, and that's one good thing about travel and going around the world and finding out about different cultures and their history, and you become a different person.
And you don't just learn about the country, I learned about the people that helped us as well. And you find that they're just like us. They're just people trying to make a life. It's really, really great.
I can't wait to go back. I want to take that Nile cruise. It's definitely something Memphis Tours can help you out if you want to do a short tour like we did for 5 nights, or if you want to take the 5-night tour and go on a Nile cruise. they can help you out with that. And they're a highly reputable company. They've been around a very long time. I'm going to use them again when we go back.
And here is something that we didn't really mention on the Uganda video, but one of the options with Memphis Tours, as well as with Lifetime Experience Safaris, is you can go on a tour that's just the two of you. We weren't with a tour group. We got very personalized service. This was just like, you come and visit a friend in another country and they say, I want to show you my town.
I know, it was totally like that.
It was just like that. And I can't say enough about what a great experience this was.
It was. If you have any questions about Egypt or the tour that we went on, we'd be happy to try to answer them or get the answers for you. Our email address is mattandlaurin@yahadventures.com.
There it is.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. We're going to be doing live Facebook videos on our next trip.
So be checking in live. So follow us on Facebook at yahadventures.com. Our Instagram account or page is Matt and Laurin. Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, we'd sure appreciate it if you would subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell. The bell will give you alerts, so the next time we're out traveling or sharing some new information, you will know about it. And of course, our website is yahadventures.com. We sure thank you for watching, and we look forward to talking to you on the next video.
See you soon.
Egypt, land of mystery, was also on your endeavor list. If you don't know what an endeavor list is, it's what you might call a bucket list. We don't like that. What's so funny? Something's very funny to her.
Endeavor list.
Endeavor de France Prononciation. Let's just start over.
Yes, please.
At least now
Here
we
we
have
go.
outtake.
Gosh! What's going on? Let's do it.
We really appreciate you joining us for this story, and you folks have a great time. We thank you.